6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. People of the world, hello and welcome to Marketing as a Foreign Language. If you've ever wondered why the beginning of the show has me counting down, it's because when I hit the button to start the stream, we've got LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube all go in, and they all start at different times. So I count down from 10. In case you're wondering why the heck that's happening. Today on the show, Twitter is bringing its read before you retweet prompt to all users. So starting with politics, moving on to all users, as is the way with many of these things. We've got Facebook arguing that Apple should let its apps like Messenger be default on iPhone. I know that Facebook and Apple are bitter rivals, one could say. While Facebook works to create an oversight board, industry experts formed one of their own. Some more critiques of the Facebook machine. Here's where we stand on the messy TikTok deal. I thought it wasn't messy. It seemed legitimate. And then it turns out it's not. It's crazy. I don't fully understand it. The feminization of alcohol marketing. I think you could make the argument that used to be a very bro-centric marketing campaign, but here we've got BBC talking about how it's been feminized. And last but not least, 20 things I learned from 20 years working in the SEO industry. Something for everybody today on the show. Thanks for swinging on by. We're going to get started. I don't know, right now. Yeah, you guessed it. 10:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. If you want to join us for the live show, just swing by YouTube, punch in the words "marketing as a foreign language." We will appear. You can also type in "Send It Rising." That happens to be the name of my company today. Twitter is bringing its read before you retweet prompt to all users. This is from TheVerge.com. Do you want to know where we're reading the articles? Just go to the description. It's right there. Twitter says it's working on bringing its, quote, read the article before you retweet it prompt to all users soon. The company began testing the prompt in June, which shows up when people go to retweet a story they haven't clicked through to actually read. Ridiculous. Oh, man. Twitter says its motivation is to help promote informed discussion. Headlines often don't tell the whole story and can even be actively misleading. I've learned that just reading these articles over the past few months. It's become clear to me that the vast majority of the clickbaity headlines are obviously inaccurate, and no one seems to care. So headlines don't tell the whole story. Encouraging people to at least read the article they're sharing seems like a smart way to promote media literacy and stop some of the knee-jerk reactions that can make misinformation viral. Twitter tweets. We shouldn't have to say this, but you should read an article before you tweet it. So we've been prompting some people to do exactly that. Here's what we've learned so far. According to Twitter, more reading, people open articles 40% more often after seeing the prompt. More informed tweeting, people opening articles before retweeting increased by 33%. Some people didn't end up retweeting after opening the article, which is fine. Some tweets are best left in drafts. So apparently, if there's an article out there and you're retweeting it, I think the inferred implication, at least from yours truly, would be that if someone retweets an article, my assumption is that they read that article, at the very least opened it. And so Twitter having to come in like the substitute teacher and say, hey, class, I can't say for sure, but if this is the normal rule, but we're going to implement this new one where you have to read the article before telling people that they should read it. Twitter communication tweets, what's next? Making the prompt smaller after you've seen it once, because we get that you get it, and working on bringing these prompts to everyone globally soon. So it's almost like there's going to be this magic teacher in the sky who just tells you what you should and shouldn't do. And I'm for that. I'm for this in particular. If you haven't read an article and you're thinking about retweeting it, with literally no information. That's not good. So I think Twitter's making the right call here. What do you think? The company shared some results from its initial test of the feature, which was limited to Twitter users on Android. It says people shown the prompt opened articles 40% more often. We covered that. Twitter says it's now working on bringing these prompts to everyone globally soon, and that in the future the prompt will be smaller. Yeah. We got it, Verge article. So, yeah, good for you, Twitter. I think it is shocking that we have the whole wealth of human knowledge in our pockets, but the fundamental flaws of being human persist despite that. If you'd have told me when I was like 10 that everyone would have access to pretty much all the information on the globe in their pocket, I would have said, wow, that's a very futuristic interpretation. And there have been a lot of authors throughout the years that have a very dystopian, nightmarish view of the future. I think people retweeting is not exactly that vision. I don't think it's that bad. And I also think that people buy it. Well, it's only horrifying insofar as if, a democracy is supposed to function appropriately, it would do so based on the informed consent, the informed public, which is to say that if viral misinformation continues to spread and it remains unchecked, then yes, foreign governments can interfere and it can become pretty dicey pretty quickly. I get that. Facebook argues Apple should let its app like Messenger be default on iPhone. Okay. So with iOS 14, Apple has opened up its mobile platform. This is from 9to5mac.com. More than ever before, with the ability to set third-party apps as defaults for mail and browser. Riding on that change, Facebook is criticizing Apple for not opening up messaging on iOS to do the same. All told, Facebook is trying to pressure Apple to make messaging on iOS the same as it is on Android. Reported by The Information, Facebook is publicly criticizing Apple again. Last time it was over the privacy ad changes with iOS 14. Now it's about messaging on iOS. Notably, the latest complaints from the social media giant come after Zuckerberg levied an Apple deflection regarding messaging during the U.S. House Judiciary's antitrust hearing looking into big tech. In the latest attack on Apple, Facebook executives are asking for the ability to have their messaging apps be the default on iOS. Facebook's Messenger app VP Stan Chudnovsky said Apple's message apps being locked as the default messenger isn't fair and wants to see Apple mirror what Android offers. Quote, for any other developer in the messaging space, it isn't really a level playing field on Apple's platform, Chudnovsky said. If Apple took an approach like Android's, he said, it would allow us to compete more fairly, where iOS is dominant. If it's Apple's technology, shouldn't they be able to do whatever they want? What am I fundamentally missing here? On Android, users can choose a third-party app to be their primary messaging service, which will also receive their SMS messages sent to their phone number. However, as the information notes, Apple's Messages app and encrypted iMessages are a valuable part of iPhone and iPad's feature set, and the company isn't likely to give up control of iOS messaging, at least not unless it's forced to. Why would they? Chudnovsky said Facebook has asked Apple over the years to consider opening up default messaging. Apple has never agreed. Why would they? Apple's Messages app is a core feature of its mobile software that encourages people to keep buying its devices, and the app's encryption of messages is also a cornerstone of the company's privacy pitch to customers. Yeah, I mean, why? What's the incentive for Apple here? I don't understand. Even though the chances of Apple allowing third parties to be the iOS Messenger defaults are likely slim, Facebook is clearly willing to push its luck. I wonder why they're so, well, I understand the Facebook incentive to push. I just don't understand like what judge or what ruling would force Apple to capitulate. That comes after Facebook, along with a number of other groups and ad agencies, were able to get Apple to push back the new ad tracking feature until next year. But even if Facebook doesn't get its way here, the situation piles more antitrust pressure on Apple as regulators around the world are keeping a close eye on the company. So if we're talking antitrust or we're talking monopoly, then okay, I can see why Facebook would make this play. Maybe they're making the argument that Apple is too dominant, that they have too much of the market and it's unfair. I just find that it's interesting that Facebook being, I would argue, another monopoly. Monopoly is making that particular argument. So Facebook arguing Apple should let its apps like Messenger be default on iPhone. I'm with Apple on this one. I don't think they should have to do anything, as far as I can tell at this given moment. NBCnews.com, while Facebook works to create an oversight board, industry experts formed their own. A group of about 25 experts announced Friday that they have formed a group to analyze and critique Facebook's content moderation decisions. This from NBCnews.com. Our author is Olivia Sloan. Some of Facebook's most vocal critics are tired of waiting for its independent oversight board, so they've started their own. I think this is a really good idea, actually. There's a lot of folks that are boycotting Facebook. We've covered that at length. Hashtag Stop Hate for Profit was doing quite well, and perhaps it still is. Here we have a group of about 25 experts from academia, civil rights, politics, and journalism announcing Friday that they have formed a group to analyze and critique Facebook's content moderation decisions, policies, and other platform issues in the run-up to the presidential election and beyond. The group, which calls itself the Real Facebook Oversight Board, plans to hold its first meeting via Facebook. How funny is that? We're going to use your platform to criticize you. Live on October 1st. It will be hosted by Recode founder Kara Swisher and New York Times contributing opinion writer. New York Times. Facebook is still working on creating its own oversight board, first described in April of 2018. Wow, it's quite a while ago. By Zuckerberg as an independent Supreme Court. Wow, that's a quote. For content moderation decisions, Facebook's board won't launch in time to make any decisions during the presidential race. Its panel of 20 experts is scheduled to start reviewing cases in October, but it will have up to 90 days to make decisions. The new board, started by the critics, is a project developed by the Citizens, a UK-based advocacy group founded by Guardian and Observer journalist Carol Cadwalader, whose March 2018 investigation into Facebook's data sharing practices made Cambridge Analytica a household name. This is an emergency response, Cadwalader said. We know there are going to be a series of incidents leading up to the election and beyond in which Facebook is crucial. This is a real-time response from an authoritative group of experts to counter the spin Facebook is putting out. So it turns out that it's not just Stop Hate for Profit. It is a coalition of folks that are quite upset about what Facebook is doing and what they're allowing through. I'm really just hearing the argument from the perspective of more moderation, which I think is interesting. You've got a lot of groups out there that are saying more regulation. I'm not really hearing anyone, honestly. I can't remember a single article that I've read recently that said, no, let people say whatever they want on Facebook. No, open it up. It's too restrictive, right? And it's interesting to me that this kind of call for more posts being shut down is kind of the only story that we're hearing. Obviously, as I've said many times before, if you pull up an individual post and we can go post by post and look at them, I will tell you post by post whether or not I think that particular post should be allowed on the platform. By post. Who's the group? What are they asking for? Is it misinformation? Is it racist? Is it hate speech? What exactly are we talking about? I would assume that these particular groups are doing precisely that. They're coming up with examples of posts that are slipping through the cracks. On the other side of this, you've got Facebook, which is, according to the articles I've been reading, is shutting down, terminating, canceling, refereeing, policing a ludicrous quantity of posts every single day. So are we arguing that Facebook's ideology isn't good enough and that they should simply want to shut down more than they currently are? Are we arguing that Facebook isn't doing a good job of what they say they will do, which is stopping hate speech at its source? I've heard the argument that Facebook profits so much off of misinformation, specifically political misinformation. And so they have an incentive to allow posts through, because obviously the advertisers are paying for them. So at the end of the day, there's a reason why Facebook is a household name. They're just so powerful. And it's not surprising to me that folks are doing this. And the other thing, too, to be a little bit cynical on groups like this, is that they're doing this and they're definitely showing the world that, like, I'm doing the right thing. You know what I mean? So it's not as if these folks aren't getting press as well. So the people that are joining this particular group are networking behind a certain cause, so it's good for their business as well. That being said, I do support people's right to get together and criticize large groups. I mean, they really should be. I mean, they've got all the money. So I support them in their oversight of something that Facebook says they're going to have some oversight over. But I also do not envy Facebook's job. Here's where things stand with the messy TikTok deal. Arjun Karpal is the author of this CNBC.com article. Here are the key points. TikTok's deal with Oracle and Walmart is mired in confusion as the app's parent company ByteDance and the bidders put out conflicting statements. ByteDance, meanwhile, has applied for an export license with the Chinese government. I wonder what that means. And a federal judge has asked the U.S. government whether it will delay an upcoming ban on the video sharing app TikTok or defend its policy in court over the weekend. So, Washington maintains that TikTok under ByteDance ownership represents a national security threat because American user data could be sent back to China. This is a claim that TikTok has repeatedly denied. It's been quite a while that the app has been banned in the U.S. military. On August 6th, U.S. President Donald Trump issued an executive order banning transactions with TikTok in 45 days. Trump has previously said that the app needs to be sold or it will be banned in the U.S. In early August, Microsoft said it was bidding. Soon after, Walmart said they would. Oracle later joined the fray and began talks to purchase the social media app. Microsoft ended its bid in mid-September after confirming that ByteDance would not sell. That announcement left Oracle and Walmart, that's right, in the race for TikTok. Oracle will become the cloud provider for TikTok and handle U.S. data relations. A new U.S.-based company called TikTok Global will be set up. 12.5% stake in Oracle with a 12.5% stake in Walmart with a 7.5% stake. And this is as far as I got. And then, according to this article, this is where it got messy. ByteDance says that it will own 80% of TikTok Global, and that company will be a subsidiary. Oracle contests that ByteDance will have no ownership of TikTok Global. So apparently that's where they're fighting. Is this a subsidiary? Is it its own company? What does all of this mean? Trump said this week that ByteDance will have nothing to do with it, and if they do, we just won't make the deal. Meanwhile, Beijing will likely need to greenlight the deal. ByteDance has applied for an export license with the Beijing Municipal Bureau of Commerce and is awaiting a decision. It's unclear what exactly ByteDance has applied to export, given it has previously said it will not transfer technologies or algorithms to Oracle as part of the deal. However, the Chinese technology firm did say that Oracle could inspect its source code. So the game continues. Will TikTok be banned? Earlier this week, TikTok sought an injunction. On Thursday, District Court Carl Nichols told the U.S. government to either delay the ban or file their response to TikTok's complaint by Friday afternoon, U.S. time. If the latter happens, there will be a hearing on the weekend to see where the ban is going to take effect. So really no news on the TikTok front. No new news. Moving on, BBC.com article, The Feminization of Alcohol Marketing. When I was growing up, I would argue that most alcohol ads were geared towards men. Here we've got Pink Glitter Mummy Wine Time and how the ways marketers sell drinks to women can be patronizing and damaging. Well, I think we all know at this point that alcohol is not good for you. Blue means boy, pink means girl. Gendered signals like these begin the second we're born and continue through the course of our lives. According to the article, from childhood to adulthood, marketers use gendered stereotypes and tropes to convince us to buy their products. And it does seem to work. A 2018 study conducted in New York City found women are willing to pay up to 13% more for the same goods as men, from personal care products to health products, if they're rebranded to target women specifically. I do recall that particular study. In recent years, one sector in particular has turned its eye on female buyers. The alcohol industry. Chick beer comes in pink packaging with fewer calories. Pastel cocktails dazzle on Instagram and woo women drinkers. Booze with the name Mummy's Time Out targets mums starved for happy hour. And even clothing stores are cashing in, offering t-shirts with slogans like wine time, drawn into whimsical calligraphy. Alcohol abuse prevention organizations, health bodies, and news outlets have flagged. That's a typo. The fact that more women are drinking at unhealthy levels, as well as a rise in female binge drinking and alcohol-related deaths. Yet it's not clear their message is being heard amid a barrage of female-oriented alcohol advertising. So in the case of alcohol, experts say marketing often links drinking to perceptions of what women are seeking: friendship, relaxation, and empowerment. We see that these companies are using empowerment as a form of market segmentation. If only, women had the right products, the right alcohol drinks, they could achieve anything, says Anathanasia Daskaloupoulou, a lecturer in marketing at the University of Liverpool Management School. So I'll stop here. Look, one of the reasons why I really enjoy doing what I do, which is the vast majority of our clients are service-based companies. You know what I mean? CPAs, lawyers, attorneys, plumbers, electricians, photographers, that sort of stuff. And we don't do casino marketing right now. We don't do, what else don't we do? Alcohol. We don't sell alcohol. We don't do any of that sort of marketing, guns. And so I feel like if you're trying to get something ranked in Google, then by and large, if you're doing it for a service-based industry, it's just really innocuous. It's not that big of a deal. Like if you rank someone number one for plumber Las Vegas, that's just good for that plumber. I feel like there are two sides of the coin in advertising in 2020. The dark side is this sort of stuff, which is, okay, we know it's bad for you. We're going to try to link positive, happy things to it. And then we're going to pretend that it's not adversely affecting you if you go overboard. People don't have an addiction to personal injury attorneys. So if I run an ad on Google Ads for personal injury attorney and people are like, oh yeah, I remember that person, they click on that ad and that person becomes a client of a personal injury attorney that retains us, that's fine by me. I don't have any ethical qualms with that. That's the light side as far as I'm concerned. Someone is searching for something online and we give it to them. The gray area would be someone doesn't quite know that they want this thing that we're selling. And so we hit them up with Facebook ads that remind them that, hey, this might be something you want to go purchase. Like, say, for example, a photography company saying, hey, wedding photography, wedding this, wedding that, knowing that they're in the demographic of people that tend to be getting married at that time, that sort of thing. So that's sort of the gray area, because you could argue that, that sort of messaging changes people's behaviors and maybe gets them to spend in ways that they normally wouldn't, that sort of stuff. And then the dark side of the coin, obviously, is, tobacco advertisers, alcohol. I forget the stat, but there was a stat about the correlation of murders to intoxication, and it's quite high. So the people in this world that are being killed are generally in and around someone who's drunk. And so that sort of thing, plays into this cute little cocktail ad. You know what I mean? And so that's the dark side to me. And I think there's a lot of justifications. There are a lot of justifications in people's minds, advertisers in particular, saying, you know what, personal responsibility, people should know better. But at the end of the day, one of the reasons why I got into SEO was because it seemed like the antidote to this kind of advertising. If someone is searching for something and you give it to them, specifically a service, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that as far as I'm concerned. Now, it's highly effective. And one of the issues is that now, kind of like 15, 20 years into SEO as a common marketing strategy, if we're chatting with a client who doesn't rank anywhere, it's very hard to get that person to rank in the top 5, top 10. if they rank like position 30, 40, that sort of thing, there's an argument to be made. But if they rank nowhere, it's going to take some time to get them where they need to go. And so that's unfortunate. It's unfortunate that there is a cumulative effect to SEO, which is to say that if you're starting a company in 2020 and someone else started a company in 2005 and they've been doing SEO for 15 years, it's really tricky to catch up. It's kind of like a marathon in that regard. And so what are you left with? You're left with Google ads, Facebook ads. The Google ads are just expensive because Google essentially has a monopoly on that kind of ad. And then you've got Facebook, and Facebook plays into this sort of world of, I'm going to try to get you to change your opinion about your perception on something. So this is the world I happen to live in, the world of advertising. Yeah, so, they're targeting women. Why wouldn't they? I get it. They're trying to make their money. But there definitely is a dark side to this with words like mummy juice. Yeah, it's weird. And unfortunately, we don't have time for our final article, so we'll leave that for another day. Let's summarize. Twitter is bringing its read before you retweet prompt to all users. Good for them. I think Twitter has the right to tell people, hey, look, if you didn't even open the article, you shouldn't be retweeting it. They can still retweet it. Still an option, but I think they're making the right call with that. Facebook argues Apple should let its apps like Messenger be default on iPhone. I don't think they should. I think Apple has every right not to do that. I think it's weird that Facebook is asking Apple to do that. Facebook works to create an oversight board. Industry experts formed their own. From Facebook's perspective, it's incredibly hard to police the entire internet, right? I don't think Facebook gets enough credit for the work that they are doing. They are shutting down a ton of posts. But they are not infallible, and it would be very easy to find tons of examples that I personally would disagree with, I'm sure. You could show me a lot of posts on Facebook, and I would go, that's ridiculous. Why is that there? So it's difficult because when you point out the posts that make it through the filters, it's very easy to cast aspersions. And I'm not saying Facebook is perfect, and I support the boycotts, and I support this particular group. Because I feel as though they should be able to do whatever they want to. If they want to say that Facebook is being ridiculous and they should change their ways, then I support their right to do that. So TikTok, this TikTok deal is just, it's nuts. Really no new information here. We're just waiting. We're just waiting to see what happens. I honestly don't think we're going to get any great news on the TikTok front until after the election. So next couple of months are going to be interesting. And then last but not least, we tend to move in phases. Obviously, with the Me Too movement and the current political climate, it's not surprising to me that advertisers are targeting women for alcohol. I'm just concerned that the culture shifts in the wrong way, because alcohol can cause a lot of damage, and alcoholism is a real problem. And this sort of stuff is a little dark as far as I'm concerned. Fortunately, we don't at Send It Rising advertise this in particular. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for swinging on by the show. We appreciate you, as always. If you joined us for the live show, thank you for that. If you're listening to us on YouTube after the fact or on the podcast, we really appreciate it. Thanks so much, and have a wonderful day. Time for an outro.